Obama had to invent his version of Julia to get reelected, but that Julia doesn't really exist. See, I used to be a real-life Julia, and it isn't as picture-perfect as the Obama administration would have you believe. I'm Sonnie, and today we're telling the truth about Julia on this episode of PolitiChicks. Karl Marx said the purpose of communism was to dethrone God and destroy capitalism. The Obama administration has found a way to do both with this new ad campaign, Julia, replacing both God and capitalism with cradle-to-grave big government. Today I'm with Pudgy Miller, the host of KIRP, Keeping It Real with Pudgy radio show, Kevin Daniels, president of the Frederick Douglass Foundation in North Carolina, and author Marvin Rogers. And what was the name of your book again?
Silence Makes the Loudest Sound.
I like that. So guys, we're here, and Obama puts out a new ad campaign, and he says, Julia, that we can take care of you from the day you were born until the day that you die, and you'll love it. In your experience, and I know we all have similar experiences, is that in any way true?
Not at all. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. When I first read the Julia cartoon on BarackObama.com, I looked at Julia as if she was my sister. And my first thought was like, Mr. President, don't even come at her like that.
Insulting.
Insulting, because first of all, Julia is a child of God with God-given gifts, and those gifts can bring provision for her own life. And secondly, she's an American citizen in this country with our great free enterprise system where she can take the reins of her own destiny, and tell her that she cannot survive or even thrive in this life without the federal government, to me, is an insult to her as an American and an insult to her womanhood.
I look at it as a composite, you know, because when you look at each stage that she went through, there's no way that one individual can go through all of that. For example, when you look at 3 years old, Julia received Head Start training, but then when it skips to when she's in a 20-something, 26 years old, well, in order to qualify for Head Start, you have to have come from some type of background which is based upon the poverty level. When you're 26 years old, you know, you're not going to be in a 2-parent household where that parent has health care for you to stay on that health care policy for you to stay in college. So that Julia was just taking a bunch of different pieces and trying to make it one individual, which that doesn't exist. Like the intro, that doesn't even exist.
Yeah, that Julia, that's crazy. You know what? I looked at this thing like, Sonnie, when I first saw it, I'm going, wow, they had to take a cartoon to personalize it for America. Like, where are all those Julias that they're talking about? Where are the real people?
Fairy tale,
you know what I mean?
man.
So, and then I looked at it, and when I finally went through the whole course of Julia, the whole lifespan of Julia, which they skipped, I don't know, 15 years at different intervals, I'm going, wow. You know, they're telling people exactly where they want us. Like, this is the Democratic message. This is Barack Obama's message. He's showing the world exactly what he wants, and here it is in plain English. And people aren't paying attention.
There's a bunch of robots. You go here when you're this age, and then when you're this age, you go over here and be part of that. Or when you're this age, you go over here and we'll give you this so that you can achieve certain things. And that's not what this country is. That's not the free market system. That's not capitalism. That's straight up communism, socialism, control, whatever you want to call it.
It's definitely control. Definitely control. They're showing you that.
Well, one thing that I really got out of it when I watched it is that when they put together this character, and what I saw was that I was raised in the community where you were born into Section 8 housing. Your mother was on food stamps. She got the check. You know what I'm saying? You were in a single-parent home. I don't remember it being like, oh, we love government for the things that they provide for us. You know, we were walking around with that spirit of, oh, we can never get anything. We can never accomplish anything. They don't want us to have. That was what we carried around with us when we were young. And now we're being told by that same government that kind of put us there that not only should we accept it, but that we should like it and we should vote for it. So at what point is the disconnect between what we actually live and experience and where we're complaining about the size of government to where we translate it into this is what we actually want, this cradle to grave mentality where government tells us where we're going to be at what point in our life? How do we get to that point where we mix up the two?
Well, this is the same old liberal politics, starting with Franklin Roosevelt and the New Deal, and then you have Lyndon Johnson and the Great Society. And essentially what it is a trap. And what we want to actually provide people is a ladder where you can find a way to climb out of whatever situation that you're in and be not entitled, but empowered. And it's so interesting, many times in that cartoon, the president talked about the benefits of his Affordable Health Care Act in the life of Julia. But you know what? If Americans have jobs, they can afford health care.
Yeah.
You know, so he has misplaced priorities, and that he spent the first 2 years of his presidency focusing on this health care plan, which the Supreme Court is even trying to check and see if it's constitutional or not, and not focusing on jobs.
But I really want to get to the aspect of the people, because that's what they did by creating Julia, is that they wanted to personalize it so much to say, look what we're going to do to help this one person. Think about the people you knew you grew up with. Is that an accurate depiction of what their life is? Can you follow that model that they put on and say that this is where the Shaniquas are going to end up at the end of the day? And that's why I asked about that disconnect. Where is that disconnect between the real Julias that are out there and this make-believe Julia that they come up with?
I think the real Julias are going to be pissed off. Like, the real Julias don't want to. Listen, this is the same people that's saying, okay, hey, we're going to give your kid a head start, okay? We're going to put you in college. They don't want you to be business owners because you don't need all that stuff if you're business owners. You're not looking for the government to do anything for you anymore. So it's all a joke, Sonnie. It's all a joke. It's all smoke and mirrors. The real people realize that. That's why they don't have real people in this video. That's why it's a cartoon with script narrative.
Julia, like even at the end of her life, you know, when we talk about God, you know, Karl Marx wanted to dethrone God and to destroy capitalism. The Bible says a good man stores up an inheritance for his children's children. At the age that Julia, when she gets Social Security, she starts a business at 42, and then it jumps all the way to when she gets Social Security. What about her child? What does she leave for her child? The government, that's why we need a capitalist one, or one that talks about capitalism, because the government, all of the money that she's going to make when she's a business owner, no matter how great or small, the government is going to take that because of the death tax. They don't talk about that, but they want to talk about Mitt Romney, you know, and Paul Ryan and whatever the budget that he proposed. But that Julia video is like I said, it's fairy tale, man. It's fake.
There's a lot of assumptions in the whole Julia cartoon. There's an assumption that she's going to come across all of these social debilitations where the strong federal government has to gallop in and save her like she's a damsel in distress. The person that knows best about what is best for Julia is Julia, and not some faceless bureaucrat in Washington, D.C.
Well, recently what they've been doing is having this war on women, where they're like, oh, it's a war on women and Republicans hate women and all of this. But when Julia came out, one of the very first things that struck me was that there wasn't a man anywhere in Julia's life. So as men, how does it feel basically for the government to be telling you that you're not even warranted or needed, in fact, to make, I guess, a strong family structure or to make a family life of your own, that you're not even needed, that Julia can do it all without even having a male in her household?
It's a war on men. I mean, that's real, because in order to qualify for Head Start at the beginning of Julia's life, most of the time, there's not a male there. When you look at the statistics, 71% of babies born in the black community are born to a single-parent household. 98% of those households are run by females, so you have 2% that are males. 98% of those Julias that are born into the black community, there will not be a male there. Julia, it said when she decides to have a baby.
Yeah.
When she decided to get pregnant and to have a baby,
that got me.
There was still no male there.
There was no one.
You know what I'm saying? So at the end of Julia's, so now, Julia, not only did Julia have to go through Head Start, her child has to go through Head Start. And that's that cycle, you know, that people get in when you call it the trap. A trap is a trap. Julia went through it, now her child goes through it. Poverty is not only a mindset, but welfare and all that stuff, and we see it that it's generational. And that's what the government is, and Julia is putting people through, a generational welfare government assistance program.
Cradle to grave.
They don't talk about the restraints that Julia is going to be under either. I mean, if she's on this certain assistance, how is her son going to afford to go to college at that point? And if she opens her own business, they're not talking about the taxation of that. And furthermore, just speaking on the men part, it's insulting. It's insulting because it's showing a picture of an America where the women can be independent. That's true. I have no problem with that. but there's no man needed at all, not to help you, not to be by your side, not to help you raise that child, because the government is going to fill that void, and it's not possible.
So not only
and furthermore, she can't have if you want a government system, when a woman is on welfare getting those type of benefits, they come to your house to check. So you can't have a man anyway.
You can't have a checkings account. You can't have a savings account.
There's too many restrictions.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, basically, they've pigeonholed, they've trapped Julia. And the thing that really gets me is even in our culture, you have the mainstream of our culture calling it a trap.
Yeah.
They actually call it
music,
a trap in the music, and we don't place together the actual inputs of how it's trapped in our community. And I thank you guys so much for coming in to have this discussion, because we need to have more discussions like this, especially amongst ourselves, and not let them dictate what we're gonna turn into and put us where we need to be and pigeonhole us. It just doesn't work. See, because what happens in one community doesn't stay there long. Whether it's entitlement or a victim mentality, Martin Luther King Jr. said it the best. The silence of our friends will speak louder than the screams of our enemies. Thank you for watching this episode of PolitiChicks.tv, the right kind of PC.